The title of his presentation is Addiction to the Familiar, 5 to 7 minutes. For this speech, Ian is following Jim's structure of a speech to inform. His hope is to deliver a new perspective that comes from a long history with addiction. He's learned loss can be a tough teacher, but it can also carry some potent lessons. Please welcome Ian for his speech titled Addiction to the Familiar. Take it away, Ian.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. One of the things, I'm going to fix this real quick, fix my video. One of the things that I take pretty serious in my life is the tattoos that I get on my body. I can spend years thinking about the artwork, picking the artist, finding out where I want to put it on my body. I mean, I guess it makes some sense. It's going to be with me for a while. One of the most meaningful tattoos to me is this tattoo on my forearm. It's of a dear friend of mine, Shane Jesmer. And you can see in the image, he's wearing a beanie. I actually crocheted him this beanie. If you look closely, you can see like a tan line here on his face from all the spring snowboarding we did together. I looked up to Shane in many ways. He took his last breath when we were 19 years old. He overdosed on methadone, a pharmaceutical that we shared many times. I know addiction through life experience. I spent a good portion of my life putting different drugs into my body so that I would feel different inside. Today, I want to talk about an addiction that has me more concerned than street drugs or pharmaceuticals. One that I think a lot of us here face today. This is an addiction to the familiar. And before I go any further, I want to get clear on the definition of addiction I'm referencing today. One of the leading specialists, Gabor Mate, defines addiction as any behavior that provides temporary relief, temporary pleasure, but in the long term causes harm, has some negative consequences, and you can't give it up despite those negative consequences. Many chemicals have the possibility of being addictive, whether being introduced externally, like the drugs I used to put in my body, or what I'm going to be referencing today internally, which are my perspectives of the world around me, my thoughts, and my emotions. In either situation, there's a trigger. Chemicals are released into the bloodstreams and the nerves. Hormones flood the body. Electrochemical information is sent throughout the nervous system. Just like the drugs that I used to put up my nose, perpetual thoughts and emotions can create a dependency as well. It's like a slow IV drip, and I can be getting a hit every single day. These bodies are on-demand pharmacies. Consistently looking for our blind spots will help us find these addictive habits and patterns. One of the most renowned psychologists, Carl Jung, once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." We have blind spots as human beings. This mind is one of, if not the most complex things we know of in existence. Outside support is necessary. The internal mechanisms, they just want the familiar. This is why comfort zones form. Safety, the familiar equates to safety in the subconscious. Safety equates to the continuation of life. Therefore, the unfamiliar is in the direction of death. Consistently looking for our blind spots will help us break these cycles. The busy mind will recreate the past, and through this, strengthen the addiction to the familiar. The subconscious utilizes information about who we are, what the world is, what others are, and how we interact in all of it, but it's all outdated. Nothing's the same. The only constant with energy is change, and all matter is made up of energy. One of the most important tools is a habit of making time intentionally every day to slow down. This helps break the perpetual cycles of thought. The consistent intoxication of certain chemicals, familiar thoughts, and emotions, it may provide relief to the internal realm, but we can easily be the victims of our perpetual past. In summary, as humans, we're susceptible to being addicted to the familiar. And chemicals of familiar thoughts and emotions, they provide relief from the unfamiliar. Consistently looking for our blind spots will help us find our addictive habits. The busy mind will recreate the past and strengthen our addiction to the familiar. I looked up to Shane in many ways, and I'm grateful for this tattoo to always remember them. And it also reminds me that I once let go of my addiction to pharmaceuticals. And I also can let go of my addictions to the familiar. Standing up here in front of you today, I feel the discomfort in my body, the internal mechanisms wanting to push me back into my comfort zone to be safe. Each time I stand up here, I am working to break some addictions to the familiar. And for that, I think Shane would be proud of me. Back to you, Toastmaster.